don't know about you, but I love when people see me. That is like actually one of my favorite gifts that I have, is that when I'm with people, I really love to see and hear them, just listen to them, their excitement, the things that they love to do. So I love that gift back. So in this podcast, I think you're going to really love it if you love being seen and heard. We're inviting in, the Fresh Inspiration Show is inviting in Christi Corradi. Now, I've known Christi for a couple of years, but I didn't know that she had this special gift a couple of years ago. I knew that generationally, from mom to grandma and so on, that they've been spiritual beings, like at the highest frequency, because that's just how they live. It's part of their family process and how they live their life. Well, Christi, from generation to generation, she's very smart when it comes to the holistic and spiritual focus on what she can do. What Christi's going to do is she's going to share with you how she can listen to what somebody is going through by her asking certain questions. And she's going to be interpreting it through artwork. And the artwork is actually my second coaching session that I get with her. This is so exciting because you're going to see the breakthroughs that I have. Now, for this podcast, you may be listening to it on Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, one of those platforms, but you may want to go to our YouTube channel, and down below, you're going to get the information in the description how to get to our YouTube channel. And the reason why you may want to do that is you'll want to watch her work her magic in the video as she's drawing, as she's asking me these questions. Now, if you didn't catch the first interview that I did with her, which was a couple months ago, and she was asking me questions and she was drawing, it was my first breakthrough of things I was not stepping into. And I knew I had some more growth from there because I could already tell there were some things that I needed to step into. And it was like fabulous. I was like, it's not like that I had to step into it. It was something that was going to make my life more powerful if I did. Now, I scrumptiously love stuff like that. And I bet you do too if you like the Fresh Inspiration Show. So do yourself a favor. Make sure first that you go into Facebook, catch us at the Fresh Inspiration Show, Mindset Transformation Entertainment. In there, you're going to see all the experts, all the video, all the support you get in the Mindset Transformation Entertainment. Then secondly, you'll want to go to our YouTube channel and you'll want to watch this podcast show on YouTube, specifically Christi's one, because you're going to see her drawing as I'm talking. And she's asking questions and I'm interpreting it. And it's like, oh my gosh, you mean, and you're going to hear some of my breakthroughs. I realized I need to go on vacation. And I realized that I need to get another dog, which my family's been telling me I should. Because if you haven't met Oliver yet, he is actually my business partner because he watches over me. I watch over him. He keeps me in my vitality by us starting the day eating fresh vegetables. And now I think it's time to get another doggy based on Christi Corradi's discussion. So make sure you step into the podcast, listen and enjoy, and give yourself another favor by going over and listening and watching on the YouTube. Love you, and you have an insightful day. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Fresh Inspiration Show with founder and host Rhonda Liebig, energy revitalizer and mindset freedom coach and #1 best-selling author. We are here to freshly inspire you, uplift you, and transform you with our unique Mindset Transformation Entertainment Show. Get ready as we kick it into high gear, arousing your motivation in lifestyle, vitality, and business. But before we walk through the threshold and start the Fresh Inspiration Show, take a deep breath check in. What is your level of belief in you to conquer this new world? And then do yourself a favor. Before you exit our show, ask yourself, what is your level of transformation? Because we know if you believe it, you can achieve it. And that's why the biggest, best, and boldest inspirers are here for you right now. Buckle up. Yeah, you've got this.
Fresh inspiration. Fresh inspiration. Fresh inspiration. Fresh inspiration.
So your feelers are out there, and that you truly believe in you and what you feel. That is powerful to be around. So audience, why I invited Christi here, because every time somebody comes in, before they get here, there's such a process to bring somebody in, because I find this, that as the founder of the show, I truly want this to be a protective space where we feel like family. To have all of us together and mingled in somewhere together. We all overlap in some form. Your spiritual space, I find that I need dearly all the time, because it's a new area. And we are learning that about me more, huh, Christi, when we did our conversation where I got to be able to have an interview with you, as I got to interview you live in our show.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And I love your years of experience. And what I appreciate is that you were out there doing your paintings, and you had them on the wall, you had them in different places. And I was like, wow, Christi. Like, to me, I felt like it was intuitive. And I almost felt like it was abstract, even though it was like a specific thing. But there was always something in there that I could read into, that I didn't think, that I thought that you were putting it in there. Like, you're like, this is how I'm feeling, because you always paint it spiritually. I could see that. But I could specifically see a trail going somewhere, a tree, a house, anything that you were doing. I fell in love with your paintings at that point. But what I love what you're doing now is you are sharing your painting and drawings at an intuitive space. I do want to add in, because I'm introducing you, but I have some things here. Dusty's saying that she loves your art. And she wants to share that she has her dog on her lap and she's off for this week. So she's really taking good care of herself. And that's important. I'm glad you're putting this stuff in here, Dusty, because this is what Christi is about, is connecting you with what you need. Connecting you with being able to see things you may be missing, and how you can truly show up when you start playing in this area. And so, Christi, you're talking about, like, this is really like the divine space, huh?
Yeah, and when Laura was talking, especially towards the end there, it's like we are the divine in expression, and we can even look to our health issues to see where we are stuck and where we're out of alignment, because the divine through us would not feel this way. And so the good news is that we can look to our subconscious mind and all of those things she talked about. It's a major thing that I work with, the subconscious mind. And that's what the image does so well, is that it helps bring the subconscious to the surface in a way that we can look at it and see what's going on when we didn't realize it. Like she said, there was no awareness that these were the things that were at the core, but where we can look at it and really get a sense of, oh, that's the belief that led this. Because I will guarantee you that our thought through our emotion, whether it's our passion or our discontent, causes us to move into action, and that action produces our result. So that means that if we have, through our emotion, maybe a lack of self-love because we were treated poorly, and then we move into action, and that's the eating of the food and putting it in our bodies that's not good for us, the result we get out is the sick gut. And so we can look to anywhere that we are not in alignment with being the divine in expression and see our stuck places. The image is a shortcut in a sense. It's almost like looking at a crystal ball and how to access and see that.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Laura Kelchin said, Christi's artwork in the background draws me an amazing talent. It's not easy to do that. Divine is a perfect description.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
So, Christi, what are we doing today?
Well, just after Laura, if you, one of the things is I would like to make sure that you have given me permissions to share. The easiest ways to make me a co-host.
Yeah, and also, should we first start off coming back and regrouping about?
We will, but I wanted to show a little video very quickly.
Okay.
If
share your screen, let me give that to you. Okay, so everyone, we're going into the next layer with Christi. I just shared the screen, and she's going to share a video. Is it your 5-minute video, or you're going to share? What you going to share, my friend?
This is how we are divine and perfect. I don't know what. Let's see. So can I share my screen now?
Yeah, now, yes.
Okay. Okay. Here. So this is called. Oh, this is not the one I wanted to show. Never mind. I'll have to look for it while I'm talking, and we'll bring it up. But okay. So there's two things that are really up in my life right now. One is the book that I wrote that we'll talk about towards the end, and that it's launching at the end of this month. But the other thing that happened, and this was a result of the pandemic, is that I got into a place of courage, of trusting myself, and of really getting in touch with my masterpiece. One of the things that I do is I help people, especially people that don't know, they have this longing inside of them, they don't know what it is, and they would really like to discover. And it's like learning a new language, and then all of a sudden their life wakes up. And yet I didn't have anybody that could take me down that road fully. And so I took some time at the beginning of the pandemic, and I did a 3-day process working with a coach that could really create. One of the things I do well, and that she did well, and that Rhonda does well, is to create safe place. And it really requires that safe place to be able to be vulnerable enough to do that deep inner work. And so I went on this spiritual journey and emotional what's the reflection, emotional look at my life and the things that could possibly be in my way. I think we all need to do that over time, no matter how evolved or whatever we are. I always say we live in a spiraling universe, and the universe never stops expanding, and neither is our nature to stop expanding. This is an expanded life that we want to live. So I've always drawn my feelings, my emotions, and I've looked to them. And I've actually, in a healing group, I did drawings during that time, because it helps me. It's almost like my way of going deeply in. And I would share them with them, but I never thought this was mine out in the world to do. And I realized the thing that was holding me back was my lack of self-confidence, my lack of courage. And so I just took the dive, and then since, pretty much at the beginning of the pandemic now, I have switched gears. I am a transformational life coach. I am an art therapist. The thing about art therapy was I would watch other people draw, and sometimes they just had so many inhibitions about drawing or this or that they couldn't get to that intuitive place. And so I see we're live.
And I'm going to, and Christi, we are continuing, everyone. We finally were able to, so we have another live video. So we have 5 people that are watching right now. You've been able to watch because I've been able to use my phone. Now we're actually live. So you'll be able to interface, you'll be able to see stuff really clean. You'll be able to put your volume up and be able to hear. So we're going to transition off the phone, what we've had to do for a couple hours. We finally got into Facebook Live. So come on over, and I'll make sure I tag you if I don't see you over with us. We're in the same group, the Fresh Inspiration Show, Mindset Transformation. Go up and refresh, and you'll be able to see that we're live, and it says second video. So I'm closing off this one. And Christi, I've been recording this whole thing, so we're going to have a clean version also. So here we go in transition. I'm going to end this, but we have another live video right in the Fresh Inspiration Show, Mindset Transformation. Thank you for helping us deal with the technical stuff, and we'll be right over into the next space. Oh gosh, Christi, thank you. We're already going live, so please keep sharing, my friend. I wanted to make sure we got everybody transitioned.
Yeah, well, I think this is a good time. I'll go ahead and show, especially because people will be able to see it. I do now have the correct video up. And what's really fun is my son is at home because of the pandemic. He's just turned 23 on Monday. He's in visual digital arts. He's in filmmaking, and he's been helping me with my videos. So he helped me make this video because it's sometimes very hard to explain people this idea that we are divinely perfect. So here, I'm going to go ahead and share this with you, and as people are transitioning over. Okay, I'm going to have to speak it because the volume is off. So we are perfect as we come into this world. We are divine no matter what we come into the world with. This is what we were meant to come into and what our purpose is in life. But as we go along and we come into the world, we start listening to people around us. We start listening to the things that people tell us. And even though we are whole, we start believing something different about ourselves. There's going to be a little action taking place here. Hold on, go on. Okay, we start seeing that part of ourselves as imperfect and incomplete. It may have been what the teachers told us when we were coloring outside of the lines, or that we were going out of bounds in the playground, or it could be when we get older and then we get teased by the other kids. Oh my gosh, getting through school is, like one of the challenges. Maybe one of the good things about this pandemic is there can't be as much bullying, right? And then going into our teen years, with those hormones that rage, and we just get deep and dark and say, oh, life just really sucks. And we start believing what other people tell us. We're not acting correctly. We're not following the norms, and then, oh, you should be a doctor, or you should be this, or all of the various things that people tell us about who we should be. And then the media, can I go on next one? The media comes in and tells us who and what we should be. I mean, the status quo thinking. And all of a sudden, when we start looking into the mirror, we see this. And we don't see ourselves as whole anymore. We don't see ourselves as complete. But all the time, the truth is we are. And so the work that I do with people is I help them come back to filling the holes, the gaps. I help them discover the subconscious beliefs that are inside that keep them from thriving, from being creative, from experiencing joy in life, by helping them see these erroneous thoughts that are really not true about ourselves, so that we can return to the wholeness of who we are. Because we were made in the image and likeness of the divine. It is what we are here to do, is to be that wholeness. And so this work that I do is about helping people come back into that awareness.
I love it.
Thank you. Yeah.
So I'm really breathing it in. I love that you and also you had technical difficulties too. It's very interesting how we're working through this. I love it.
Well, I got to speak it instead of talk. So
Exactly.
yeah.
You know what? I love the feeling of that nothing's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That safety. I noticed this year that my my word for me is safety, meaning that with all the experiences we've had in life, bringing that into, what we're learning on Mother Earth here, and also being able to bring that spirit and knowing that when I get to talk to you, I get to hear how we're in, like, whatever is happening is the divine space, which to me goes straight into acceptance. And the fight around, but it used to be this way, this is the way I want it, and things like that. It's like, I know that that's like a natural feeling. So at first, I can go through that space because I'm not feeling judged. But the reminder of, take a deep breath, see what's around you, see what's going to be happening in the next layer, but also keep taking care of yourself, because you're not going down. You're right here. You're being nurtured. That's how I feel. When you start sharing those things, it amazes me on so many levels when I could be sitting in fear all the time. Because when I first wake up in the morning, I've really learned a lot about this, that I was showing up scared more than anything else, instead of what I get to learn to do, which is, I get to make a choice because it feels logical to me. Like, oh no, this is the divine space. So is that where you wanted to go, is our discussion?
So, well, first I'm going to share my experience of doing this, and it kind of ties in with Laura, what she did. So in this three-day series, I really got in touch because I had a lot of gut pain going on and things like that. And so I was able to, through my drawing, and you'll see I'll do this process with Rhonda when we go into the next one, but I took a portion of the drawing that I had done one day, and it was in my gut area, and I redrew that larger and was able to look at and see how what was going on and what was affecting me. So this is, I can lower this a little bit because the page is the right direction. So this was my gut. This was what was going on in my gut. And it was right over there, and it was like this crunchy, gnarly animal, right? But when I started looking at it, and there's words on here, and I can't even read them completely, but they were my story. They were the things that were coming out. This one says, all the times I wanted and believed I was bad, something, about that idea of growing up believing I was bad. And then down here it says something about I'm swallowing my truth. And so it's like I'm not even showing up authentically. There's the swallowing of the truth. And this one down here says, I don't know how to feed myself. And this is probably one of the key ones I'm still working on, because my mother didn't cook. My dad did most of the cooking. And even still, it was, we didn't have a lot of money. And so, food was almost this desperation. I would come home from school as a latchkey kid, my younger brother and I, and at 8 years old, I would come home and I would be starving, and I would climb up on the kitchen cabinet and I would open the cupboards and just try to find concoctions that I could make that would feed me, and it's like, I don't know how to feed me. And so I'm working, now I know to bring that to the surface, and it's so interesting how it plays in my life. There's the whole big, but there's all of these things. And so then I'm going to share. So Rhonda and I had a session, and it was on Facebook Live, and I'm doing some live demos with people to help other people see that this work can be really powerful in unlocking things that are going on that you don't have the words to, that you don't know, and that you can take something like, oh, this is in my gut, and you can take it to somebody like Laura, or like my chiropractor, who also does food testing and things like that, and she actually discovered I had a virus in my gut, and every time I'd go to the doctor, like she said, and get this tested, it was there was nothing there, right? Supposedly there was nothing there. And so I knew there was something there, and I was able to go to my chiropractor and say, help me find this. And it's like the change is immense of just being able to do this. So what I do, and we're going to lead into, I did a session with Rhonda, and what I do is I just actually, as I'm kind of coaching people, I listen and I'm drawing. So sometimes I'm not looking at people, but this screen will not be on when I'm doing that, because I want them not to be paying attention to that. I want to do a little piece of the coaching. But what the second sessions that I do, and that's like what I'm going to do with Rhonda here, is, let me change my screen back, is that we go into the original drawing, because in that it's just like a map. There's so much amazing information in there. But even the second time, so Rhonda, what I'm going to do with you is I'm going to show you the image, and then I'm going to show you the evolution of the image, and you have the opportunity of just being in the feeling tone of what are you feeling, what are you sensing, what are you seeing. And I am going to be able to bring that up onto the screen. So this is the first image that I did as I was speaking to Rhonda.
I'm glad you're sharing, because I was ready to share it too, but you're on board. Thanks, Mom.
I love Zoom. I
know it's
yeah.
a great way.
Okay, I want you to tune into this, and I want you, oh no, this is actually the second one, isn't it? No, you're seeing the first one. You're seeing this one. Yeah. And you talked about confidence, and you talked about that idea of who am I to think that I can do whatever it is. And just tune into that right now. And are there any feelings or senses of this as you look?
Coming back to it, because I've been looking at this, the confidence that came to me was before I knew it was a crown. Mm-hmm. And I started seeing that that feeling of that I've been focusing and learning more about listening and trusting my divine space. I come from in the background of being very exterior, only knowing what I can see, and that was my truth. Now I'm on this new journey of even building through like what I want to get done for the day. And I'm an extremely active, getting a lot of things done, multitasking. But it's the other layer that we're talking about, which I'm learning, is to trust that what I'm feeling is how I get to accomplish and finish my tasks, by knowing who to connect with, knowing what's the next step that's going to keep me in flow so I don't get exhausted. What do I need to do for food? Because as a health coach, I can go in and look at my organs and see where I'm at, but there's another layer there now that you're helping me acknowledge, that it gives me like this step in, which I didn't know that I wasn't doing. I just thought, oh, I can see a lot of things now. And letting that organically happen, what you did is you jumped me forward. And what I thought with the confidence that was showing up was that now I get to layer in, okay, I know what foods I want to eat because I can feel it, but am I really fully feeling it? Take a step back, really believe in your divine space about food and what's going to take care of you today. When I do that, my work gets accomplished in a way, by the time it's time for me to exit out of my office, it could be 4 hours to 12 hours that day, that I feel this flow. And you've been able to, since our last session, help me logically take a step back and get the logic out of it and let the flow happen. Because I know how to work logically, but let the flow happen.
So thank you. This is the evolution. So I want you to be, again, in the feeling tone of that and see where it feels like things are evolving, and anything you notice about this.
I think people automatically will see that I have long hair, and that long hair means that that's a picture of me. what I see, that long hair is connected around my ears. So for me, when I look at it, it's me being able to stay open and be able to hear and feel what somebody's actually saying. And I'm growing that, so the confidence connects with that.
Look at these jewels. Look at these jewels up here.
To me, and again, because I keep seeing that word, so I know that those jewels are there, but there's more to enjoy. There's these nuggets that are all different layers of the top chakra that as I get to scrumptiously open up to being, that these beautiful colors, purple, the blue, the white, and even I see the shades of like, one can be white, but it transitions into another color. So I feel like I'm in transition. And I know that I always will be, because I know that's our life's gift, is always consistently learning. But right here, it's telling me, for me, what I see is I'm moving quickly based on being able to be aware and you holding me in this space. I mean, I truly feel there's a partnership of what you're doing. And so I want to talk a little bit more about that, because I love the playfulness of that top divine space, that chakra, is that it's like, at last time we talked, to me that was flurry. Like, okay, I'm going here, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But now what it's doing for me, now that I see this for today, is playfulness. I see the gold and the white, like that's like celebration. And that gold is a color of the Fresh Inspiration show. And so when I saw the heart, I see that the what I'm doing is bringing me deeper in to full alignment. That this is where I'm going to be hunkering in and expanding, and that it's, I got this. I got this. So the confidence is going in there, the trust. Christi, on the right side.
Exactly. Exactly.
But come on, my friend.
Go ahead. This emerged out here. Yes.
Yeah.
This right here.
Yeah.
This is very exciting. And so this was the thing, and I was hoping you would discover that too. So in amongst all of this beauty and wonderfulness, the really cool thing about this is that we can look in it to see the stuck places. And this container, in my feeling tone, and you have to see if you resonate with this, is holding some of the stuck places for you. Mm-hmm. And so what I started doing was because I was attracted to that as well, is I started drawing that container. And that's what I'll do in a second session, or alternative sessions, is we will look at where are you stuck. And I don't know, I don't have your answers, but I do have a drawing that's starting to emerge from that. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing this. I'm going to come back to my camera, and this is right here. This is the container.
I see.
So can you see up close? Can you see what's going on for you when you look at this?
Mm-hmm. On the bottom left,
Mm-hmm.
I want to be on vacation, and I'm telling myself I'm going to go on vacation, and I'm not doing it. And that is a palm tree to me, speaking to me that I am not in full flow of what I know my needs are, which is getting away. And I feel like every time our family gets away, that it saves my life.
Mm-hmm. And that was really clear, that it's like the R&R, the caring for yourself stuff. Yeah,
Christi, because I can do the day-to-day. I mean, I know how to do the adrenal resets or whatever comes up. So, I mean, I know how to manage my day, but I am going to, from this, I can see the divine spaces. I'm going to be growing that. And if I don't, that's a stuck container, is what you were saying. I can feel that.
and it's playful.
Oh, Well, I love being playful.
Yes, I know. It's like, what is it like to be on and regardless if it ends up that you go to the mountains or this or that, we have the water, we have the playfulness of this. It's
Oh, and you know what, Christy? I'm looking at her comments here, and Dusty said that she is loving the visual. And this is what I find is the most powerful space of hanging out with Christy right now, is that you are seeing something that you can just so be able to understand what you're drawing. It's so easy.
you the client can understand, because I didn't know what was in here. I didn't know what this was. And actually the next component of this, I want to go and visit some of these other areas, but these are still kind of like, here we can take a dive into this real deep void. And I wouldn't do that on a live demo like this, but the inside of here are some even deeper things of where you're stuck. This vessel here is holding it. And one of the things I want to say about our paradigms, about the places that we are stuck, is that we don't want to get rid of them, because they really are here to tell and to teach us something. It is here. This one is here to say to you, Rhonda, get moving, get to that self-care, get to that vacation. You do such a lovely job of hanging out with your kids. It's like, does this mean by yourself? Does this mean taking your family? You get to resonate with it. So what do you see in these two areas? And maybe even, let's just stay a little bit surface, because this can take you very, very deep. But
yeah, and I love being vulnerable. I don't mind.
You are. I know you are so good at it. Yeah.
So, but Dusty did add, and this is where I was going with this too, is that it looks like Oliver. So for me, I see a puppy there, and stuck. I'm gonna speak to this for what I originally see, but there may actually be another puppy in my future. I have worked with people that do the spiritual space of connecting Oliver and me, and if anybody's ever seen any of the stuff that I do, Oliver is my partner. When I'm not feeling well, he's watching over me. Anytime I do a Facebook Live, he literally is there. And I notice that people need him too, because he teaches them that eating healthy is like something you can do. So he does a lot of things. So this puppy to me is, I think that there is actually another spirit out there that is in my calling, because I understand what Oliver is doing for me and connecting and helping me, and I'm helping him too. And so we're partners. This other doggy, this seems to me a new spirit, that I'm stopping a new spirit from coming in. And I want to add on to that, Christy, that I feel like my partner, Jeff, my hubby, he can, and I had never told him this, but he is like a person that he's so sensitive, like he can feel things, and he doesn't know this yet. So if he's on Facebook Live, you're out, baby. So I feel like he's been wanting to bring in another spirit into our family, and it would be a puppy. And I've been holding back because of the exterior reasons.
Yeah, it's a hard time. We brought Ruby into our lives during this time and the socialization, but you've got another dog, so that's different. But she just goes absolutely nuts when she sees people, because she hasn't been raised around people. But what is this spirit? What's the energy of this spirit that you're stuck with, so that you can truly open? I see these little swirlies. These are kind of curious to me. What would that represent for you?
Probably spinning. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, to receiving. Another spirit to come into our household. So I go back to the heart sense, when the original picture that you drew. And that swirling I feel directly be a part of my next layer of staying off of medicine. Because if I keep my heart open, I feel safe and I know that my journey is going to keep getting stronger and better. So this is a space of healing for me in my container.
And this little possible entity that's either there spiritually, because we can have our power animals, or into your life physically. The love is the heart space. And this is one of the things that happens during the drawing, is the transformation can take place right here. And there is the heart space, and you do this in your meditation, and you can imagine this dog energy, which dogs are loyalty. In the medicine cards, dogs are loyalty, and it's like, what do you need by your side to love yourself more, to have greater courage to bring yourself into this?
Mm-hmm.
So you can do that in a meditation, and you can, like, you're so intuitive, like you were with my Jasper, and you can, go find this spirit that's also looking for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go on vacation first.
Okay. Okay. Well, because when you bring a puppy, Christy, thank you. Now my spirit guides, you reminded me about this. Yeah, I believe my first thing is that I do have some tickets available for me to go and do a vacation. I need to go do that.
And I traveled during this time. So I went to the Southwest, and we stayed in hotels. We rented a car. We felt completely safe. We felt everybody was doing their part, wearing their masks, things like that, that I felt completely safe. Of course, I carry an aura of safeness with me, but it's not a horrible time. You just have to be cautious. You have to be aware. You have to be your strength of integrity, almost, of bringing that into the world.
Because Dusty brings up that she has 3 dogs and 2 on her lap and 1 dog in bed. The thing is that we've had multiple dogs, and we lost them both within a couple months, and they were kind of some years apart from each other. But I know that our Kuma really relied on Spencer as his guide. That was one of the things that was very difficult when, I love this. That was one of the hardest things for when Kuma was on his own, that I became his guide. Like any move I made, he could barely see, because all of a sudden, everything was kind of taken over when Spencer passed on. But he would just look at me. And so with the second doggy coming in, what it'll do is, first, that I so have to put faith in Jeff, my husband. And I do. I actually, and I keep telling him, I've told him a couple times, like, you are very insightful. So the trust within that too. I really feel he's my spiritual partner. And thinking about having a new dog in our life seems something that I was holding off on. But I know that any spiritual being in our house that I can see, because sometimes there's some people I do coach that tell me there's other spirits around, that I don't have that gift. I don't see that. But as I bring this new puppy in, that I know that there's going to be some type of partnering. And I believe that Oliver needs it too. Oliver needs that energy of, the energy being that just, comes and plays with him. And that's what it is. That's all it is. So I love that. Thanks for that breakthrough, Christy.
Yeah. Well, I do want to share with you about my book before I go on. And so
transition, and then we'll smoothly go into your book, because I was crying, so I want to make sure that we transition the audience.
Well, yeah, I'll just give you a little final look. A few little wrong thing. A few things are emerging, and what I will do with with Rhonda is that I will we'll finish this up. This is just, it's I do hour sessions with people, and I have you can do this individually. I have a one-time individual offering on my website right now, and a 4-pack, which I really love offering, and I'm offering a one-time purchase of a 4-pack of sessions at a really discounted price. So if you want to go to my website, masteringtheartoflife.com, and you can see it up there, Intuitive Wisdom Drawings, and right now there is that offer going on.
And Christi, I put that, but make sure you come in this group and you make sure that I did that right. You'll want to connect with this community. But does audience, do you feel that like the breakthroughs that you have, like the first one was something I could handle? Like I didn't have a cry session. What I really did is like, I felt this release. That was like, I know everybody has their personal process through this, but I felt this release, like, oh my gosh, Christi, you're getting more insight. And then to have, because how many packets? You have a 4 in your package?
4-pack, yeah.
Yeah, so do you see that? So then what you saw now is that Christi got to the swirl. To me, that was my spleen.
Oh,
Like that's where I could feel that's where I'm like,
oh, nice, yeah.
to energetically and also feel that, to make sure I'm in alignment with my food, is that spleen is going to slowly get released as I really step into my gifts. And I know that that's where I've been stuck in my next layer of staying off of medicine. And I truly mean staying off of medicine.
I wouldn't have known that, because I don't have that context, and that's what I love about this work, is I don't have your answers for you. I have the intuition to guide you through this process and be able to help you find yours. I want to show you one more thing on this little drawing here. Is inside of this spleen now that we know about, there's 3 little critters here that are emerging. I can hold it up a little bit.
Laura's like, oh, I see that.
So
I see what's popping out, Rhonda.
yeah, so Laura can help to say, I don't know what this is, and we could explore it, and we can offline and so forth. But those things just kind of happen, and I know that it's my gift to be able to tap into that, number one, but then also to help you find your intuition within this drawing as well.
Fabulous, my friend. So you see how the 4-packet with Christi, how it layers in?
Yeah, the thing about the 4-pack, which I really love, is I actually start with your vision, your dream, the thing that you would love to experience in your life. And so we go from that. In another session, I'll kind of help you find some stuck areas. But in the 4-pack, we start with the vision. And within the image of the vision, it also shows kind of some of the stuck areas. And so it evolves. And then it depends on the person, but very likely even at the end of that, there is a resolution for the person to a more evolved vision, or we need to keep going, and they can buy another 4-pack, but not at the wonderful discount price that I'm offering right now.
Very, very cool, my friend.
Yeah.
So. And so with your book that you have, that you have the cover today that you're going to be able to get to share with everyone?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, so we're going to share it, but also in there is where, what's the name of it, Christi, so you can say it before you reveal?
So the book is called Beyond the Box, and I love that Laura talked about some of this stuff, Beyond the Box. And the first line of my intro is like, who created the box anyway? We are living by somebody else's box. We're trying to get outside of the box. Let's just let the box go, and let's create our own thinking. 90% of our thoughts are recycled. You got them from somewhere else, and you bought into them, and maybe even more for most of us. And so it's like, how can you do your own thinking? And the method that I teach in the book is called Creative Thinking Expanded. And this was my MC squared that I kind of mentioned at the beginning. It's like we think thoughts that we have never thought before. We entertain new ideas. Like, I remember one time coming home from my doctor, since we're on the health thing here, I came home from my doctor, and I went in thinking that something was wrong, and she goes, you are really good. You are really healthy. And I just went, what if I entertained that idea instead? Yeah. And that's a new thought. And nobody told me, nobody gave it to me, nobody said I could think it, right? And it's like, what are thoughts that you can think of? I was giving examples yesterday on this talk I was doing. It's like, what if you missed the exit? And what if that's a good thing? What if you lost your job? And that's a good thing. I mean, how can we turn what's going on in our lives and make it into our own thinking process? And then we exponentiate that by adding, and that's the expanded part, we understand the universal principles. And Laura was talking about one, and it just reminded me of one of my favorite laws, which is the law of sacrifice, because I love it, because people, I don't want to sacrifice. But what the law of sacrifice is letting go of the lesser to experience the greater. And once you have passion enough, remember I said the thought through the emotion, but when you have passion enough to move forward, then your actions reveal that, and that's your result. So when you have the passion enough now for this whatever it is, and say wellness, we'll just keep on that theme, right? And now you look at, what do I need to let go of? So one of the things that also happened during this pandemic is I gave up eating bread. And I gave up, even though I'm gluten-free, right? They came out with all these gluten-free options, right? So I was like chowing, potatoes, things that were high starch. I just gave them up. I love potatoes. I had a boyfriend who called me Tater Girl because I love potatoes so much, right? Before I was married 30 something years ago. But because I have this sense of wanting to experience the wellness here, I can say, oh, I'm willing to let go of the lesser. And we can do that with our friends, with our jobs. Was it somebody on the chat there said that she'd been in this job that she hated for 12 years. It's like, let that go. And then one of the other things that we really want to be conscious of, and I help people with, is creating remedy thoughts. Like, what is the replacement thought that you want to have in place of that? So mine coming out of the doctor's office was like, well, what if I really am well, and yeah. So that's one of the key. So my book is called Beyond the Box, Creative Thinking Expanded. I had done a workbook first called The Creative Way in 5 minutes a day, and it's a drawing meditation actually that my clients do. But the book was based on, and now this book, Beyond the Box, is based on the 12 of the elements and principles of art to express the principles of life. And that was a way to access people in a different way. And so every week I give a tool, every chapter I give a tool and a universal principle to help people really move through their lives. And it's a journey. It starts with designing your life, and then critiquing what's in the way, that's the stuck parts, right? And then creating that life of your dreams. And it's just such an exciting job to have, to help people, really begin discovering themselves. Yeah.
I love it. And Laura, I definitely want to come in and talk about her time with us, watching you, Christi, do all your spectacular work. Did you want to share what the cover looks like?
Do I want to share her drawings?
No, did you want to share? Do you have a cover, or
of the book? Okay, yes. So what happened? So I have a Facebook page called Beyond the Box, the book, I think it's called, and in there I posted up all these different book covers, and I let people, give their input and do a voting and things like that. And I have not revealed to them, and so I invited them to this call. I don't know if anybody's on here yet from that, but I am revealing now. The book has gone to the publisher. The cover has gone to the publisher, and this is the revealing of the Beyond the book cover.
Oh.
beyond the box.
I love that. Oh my gosh. I love all the colors coming right out of that.
Well, color is passion, and I say, take things into the passion, it's like let's give our life color. Let's, be vibrant and even during COVID, you can do this.
Oh,
Just
thank
know
you
the
for
divine's
reminding
got
me.
your back.
Laura, unmute yourself. Share with your experience. We can keep this cover up while we're talking. That is so
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, I also, I love bright colors.
Yes.
And so, I've received a little bit of coaching to like choose a couple of colors that you're always in because that's brand alignment. And I'm like, you know what? My brand alignment is that I'm in bright colors. Like whatever. I don't want to have to, and I think that's an example, Christi, of what you're talking about is like somebody else's rules. Somebody else is trying to impose this concept on me that you have to be in this or you have to do this, and that doesn't align with who and what I am. So I love the bright colors. I love bright colors in general, and just the energy and the exuberance from that. So there are some things, and I have actually, as you've been sharing, I've been writing some things down and taking notes because just some great takeaways. I love when you said that art shows us that for which we don't have words. And that sometimes it's so hard for someone to articulate, what it is that they're feeling. What it is that they are experiencing or have experienced. So I think that art and the creative space is such a brilliant and connected way to help someone unpack that subconscious programming. So I love that you shared that. And then just some things that kept coming to mind are like, we become what we think about, you get what you focus on. And so
That's one of the chapters.
oh, awesome. Yeah. So choosing to think about things that are excellent and things that are praiseworthy and things that are pure and uplifting and, choosing that I think is really powerful, especially in that first picture of Rhonda, who am I to think that I could be or do, fill in the blank. And it's like we become the thoughts that we entertain. One of my favorite, as if people just have favorite neuroscientists, but one of my favorite neuroscientists is Dr. Carolyn Leaf. And she talks about how what we think about actually shapes the physical protein structure of our brains. So I thought that was really, really powerful. And then you said something about, reframing the things that are happening. And what came to mind was thinking about what has happened for me, not what has happened to me. And just that shift of how can I choose to experience this or remember, fill in the blank experience to see it as part of my growth journey that is ultimately for my good, even if it's stressful or unpleasant or, any of those things. And then
Can I pause you there just for a second? Because you said something in your talk too that relates exactly to that. It's like being a victim to something outside of yourself.
Yes.
You have no power. But
Right.
when you give up blame, and this is in my book too, in fact, it's presented by Dr. Michael Beckwith, if anybody knows who that is. And if you give up blame, then you take self-responsibility, and that's where you can make action. That was one of the things I loved about what you said too.
Yeah, thank you. For sure, taking responsibility is, I think, a really critical part of healing. Even if you had no control over the circumstance or something happened that you would have preferred otherwise, I still have power over my response and what I do with that experience. So absolutely. And then lastly, my master's degree is education. So one of my spiritual giftings is in teaching and educating. And we learned about how people learn. And what I thought of were my students who are the doodlers.
Yes.
And the narrative that we apply to the way that people learn. And we apply this, so I'm a clarity coach. And so the underpinning of the philosophy of a company called Talentism, for which I'm an executive clarity coach, they call it the BSL narrative, the bad, stupid, lazy narrative, that if something is different from what you think it should be, you apply this narrative to it. And how often do we have people that learn in a different way from us that we call them bad? And when you shared, and when you showed that picture of the feeling of your gut, like as someone who is a gut health expert, I really connected with what you were showing and the words that you were sharing as part of that. And it made me think of that when you said, like, these are the things that people have told me were bad. And I feel like what you're doing is an expression of almost like standing up for the ways that different people express themselves, the ways that people learn about themselves, the ways that people experience new information. And that's just what it made me think of, is that BSL narrative that, like, as an educator, I was very sensitive to my doodlers and sensitive to the people who are my auditory learners, but they're maybe not visual learners, and my kinesthetic learners who are maybe not auditory learners, and providing and presenting information in a way that all of those different types of learners can receive it without applying a narrative to them that any of them are bad because they learn in the different ways. And so often we see that in society. I mean, my son is left-handed. He had a teacher who tried to make him right-handed because she didn't want him to be left-handed. And I was like, there's nothing wrong with being left. I think it's fantastic to be left-handed. You let him be left-handed. So that was what came to mind. I mean, I know that was like a list of takeaways, but
Yay, thank you.
Yeah, I enjoyed what you shared. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Christi, Laura. Yeah, this is so cool.
I do want to, can I speak one more thing to the idea of circumstances? And actually, I'm going to do my little quick screen share here because I had pulled this up. This is really a way to understand circumstances. This is an illustration. It's from my book. And what it talks about is that this horizontal, this vertical axis here, the one that never changes, is truth. And what changes is our conditions, our circumstances, our status quo thinking, our money. And how we change that is by focusing on understanding universal principles so we solve our problems, our facts, at the level of truth. And you can learn more about that in my book, or with me, or with, even it sounds like with Laura, with Rhonda, of course. Yeah, but it's like circumstances are changeable. And only changeable, though, when you take responsibility for them. If you blame it on somebody else, I tell a story all the time about when my son backed out of the driveway and I heard this crash and he was in my car. And he comes running in, how dare they park in front of our house? It's like, and it's like, we did a turnaround process that I offer. And he goes, oh, I can learn from this, and it was like, a whole different, then he took care of business. He wouldn't have taken care of business in the right way. Think if he would have gone out after that person that parked it, how dare you park in front of our house? Very different than.
I know, and starting a fight with that instead, you're like,
Yeah.
I've heard that story before, Christi, but do you want to finish that story there? There's a component there that's actually very, a good learning lesson of how you approach your coaching.
Yeah, so what I use that story to illustrate is I actually use a thermostat, and I asked him to see if he was willing to change his thinking, because like Einstein said, we can't solve a problem at the level of our thought. And so I asked him, my thermostat, of course, goes from 0 to 100. I asked him what was his level of his thinking, and he said -20, right? And so I said, okay, what are you willing? So I don't say what's the solution. I don't say what can you think of? Because we're still hanging out there in that minus 20%, right? So I said, what are you willing to go up to? And he said 40, you know, and I'm always shooting for 60 or 80, but I went 40, that's good enough. And so I said, now, and to move into that, sometimes it's gratitude. He had enough practice of doing this process that he could move himself. And of course, first he looked to me for the answer. And I'm like, I don't have your answers. And then he hooed and hummed. And then all of a sudden he says, oh, I know, I can learn from my experiences. Now have a 16-year-old say that and see that when they were just in the victim blame arena. And so to be able to just stop, that's why I kind of like the so thing. The so is that, you know, it's like we can pause and then redirect our thinking.